Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. It is I, DIGI Driver, welcoming you to your Sunday, March 19th, 2023. We're back in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we're going to be doing some apron work at Plymouth Municipal Airport, Kilo Papa Yankee Mike, on the road to hopefully an April release for our scenery. This has been an on again, off again project, which I started roughly around, I want to say either November or December of last year. And hopefully, I will be getting this done very soon. So, hello everybody, welcome aboard. Glad to have you, whether you're watching live or you're watching the I guess video on demand, depending on how long I keep it. We're going to jump in and start doing some apron work. I have done most of this, and I think I'm going to be maybe doing some details here, but probably trying to cover some ground. So I think we're going to be doing taxiway apron covers and East airport stuff. I might be working on this as well. I'm not sure how this is going to work. The runway covers over a good portion of this, so I can't see the satellite imagery, but I will endeavor to create some apron textures today. We're not going to be flying a 737 out of here, although theoretically, since it is a 600 and that runway does seem long enough, you could make a case for a, I don't know, like regional livery, but no, I'm not focused on flying today. I'm going to be doing scenery dev, so it's just as well. I can pretty much pick whatever I want and leave it on the ramp. So I will just say I showed up in a DV20, and we will choose the typical parking spot, and then we will leave live time on and get started. Greetings again to everybody, and I hope you're having a very good afternoon today. I guess you could say I was in the zone for a while this past week, these past couple of weeks, trying to get to a better place in terms of scenery dev, and almost starting to feel like I lost my groove again, but I think I figured it out. I might have to clear my shader cache again, I don't know, but it's okay. Like I said, not worried about frame rate today. I just want to make sure we get this place built. So part of that, of course, is making sure the base scenery layer looks the way it's supposed to. And we're going to go ahead and focus on getting that done this afternoon. Hopefully the microphone volume and the overall sounds are okay for y'all. And a quick recap of what we've done so far. We have put some apron textures down for the main terminal area, some parking spaces. I'm guessing these are supplemental or main fuel tanks for the airport, complete with a complimentary fuel truck that's pulled up here. And we have the storage or hangars, mini hangars that we've had here. This white square, I might try replacing this hangar building because there's kind of a custom building at the end of it, which you don't see here, but if you get rid of all the textures and buildings, there's a tiny little house at the end of this. I have also just wrapped doing some apron work here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this ground looking the exact same way it is, but I might. Either that or I might make this texture look a little bit more earthy. And then, of course, you know about the hangers, or if you don't know, I have hangers here. The hangers now do not light up except at night. I figured out how to do that in Blender. I'm very happy about that. And I'll probably apply that retroactively at some point to Whiskey 904. We have completed our fence project, and we've also added some additional apron textures to this road, which I'm debating whether or not I'm going to have like a dashed or a solid line for at some point. I guess I'd have to figure out how wide or how narrow this is to justify having that built there. But like I said, we're going to work on building some taxiway textures today. I've already done part of the work here, and I'm probably going to add some additional details like I have in this section here. We have the difference between kind of like a base layer of ground and like a slight cracked surface treatment, which I'm not sure how realistic it looks here. I might try changing the color of this base layer of apron to make it more to make it better lined up. So in other words, I could try doing something like that. And then there's less of a color differentiation between the cracked textures and the regular textures. And I kind of like that too because it also brings out some of the other imperfections in the ground textures beneath it. So that's probably going to be a good place to start. Also, I feel like putting down some more, fresh slabs of asphalt, just in case for some reason they had to break up the ground surface underneath it because of something that had to be done. Let me also check my volumes to make sure that this is actually doable for the stream. I don't want to be too loud and I don't want to be too quiet either. My volume levels. Okay, there we go. I mean, my talking is still going to be over the background noise. But of course, folks, let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. I want to make sure the volume control is best for you. So let's kick off with some apron work here. We're going to go to Objects and choose Apron. Then go to one-click placing so we can kick off right away. I will probably just do a base layer of this and change the priority to be higher than, I think the base layer is set to 0, but we'll double check. Like I said, just putting down some very basic treatments, and then you do that, and notice that nothing got drawn, so you change the priority, and bam, there it is. Now, also, I'm noticing that there is a kind of like painted imperfection here, so I'm going to break out of this mode for a moment, go to my painted line, and maybe adjust it slightly. There we go. Okay. Because if I get close to that taxiway point, it makes it go away. But that's actually good. I put a taxiway line here because I felt like it belonged here for some reason. Actually, I think it was part of the satellite imagery. Also, um, you know what? No. I'm going to leave the taxiway like this, and then that'll kind of leave it to the user's imagination. So we'll go to Asobo Asphalt and probably choose Asphalt 5 Black for this. Okay, now what did we do here? We did Asphalt Generic 5. You know what? Let me do that. Let me change the coloration on this and do this. I've gotten in this kind of like funky artistic place. I'm experimenting with coloration for textures. I mean for the Asobo based textures, not for any of mine, but so that it's not all completely, blacked out, but it's almost like I'm dating the textures so you can see when if a piece of asphalt was put down more recently than another. So I might do that. Actually, I'm kind of pleased with that. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of am. And I think I'm going to go ahead and divide this point. There we go. Bring that point down, down where? Down here. And just round off the edges just a touch. I should have done that when I was putting the texture down, but so be it, I guess. So if I subdivide, it should go up, and there it is. If it seems like a bit much, you might be right, but that's the kind of attention I like to put to detail. I mean, I can always do better, but there we go. Now, where's that line? I'm not going to be overly concerned with making all the edges ideal or perfectly aligned. And let's see, is this the one I want? Yes, yes it is. I'm going to subdivide this edge a second time as well, maybe even a third time. And then I can just slide the edges over. Okay, I think one more should do it. And we're going to subdivide the edge. And I'm going to name this apron again. And what did I call the other section? North parking. I might call this like fresh asphalt slab 2. And make this one slab 1. Fresh asphalt slab 1. No, not 12. 1. Okay, so there we go. Some of you may not be familiar with what's been going on in terms of my scenery development. I am working on an airport called Plymouth Municipal Airport, Kilo Papa Yankee Mike, the airport we're at right now. I'm creating it for a good friend of the stream, Eric Flight, who has done more than a few operations out of here. So clearly I want to make this airport as close to reality as I can within reason, given my, let's just say, lack of experience and my growing knowledge of things like Blender and the MSFS SDK. I am using an older version of the SDK. I have made a point of not upgrading to the newest SDK version yet because I want to make sure that this build completes and so I don't wind up wrecking things. What do you mean by wrecking things, DIGI? Well, I mean not being able to finish the project because I don't know, the SDK does something to the format which means I can't, access any of my edits, and then if there's something that's broken, I can't fix it, and things like that. That's what I mean. Is it impossible to start from scratch? No. But that actually segues beautifully into what happened this week. I posted online that I was trying to save some work to the airport a few nights ago, actually 2 or 3 nights ago, And what happened was, out of nowhere, I tried saving it and the sim crashed. And the problem with the sim crashing isn't that the sim crashed, it's that it crashed while I was trying to save, which was particularly nasty because what happened was not only did I have to basically shut down my sim, I to be front, I kind of had to I actually had to reboot my computer. When I rebooted my computer and reloaded the sim and went back into KPYM, when I loaded the project file, the project changes were gone. And I'm like, "Ugh, what?" And then what happened was I double checked my progress and reloaded, and the airport still saved fine, but the project file didn't. It was like it was permanently stuck on the initial or completely default build where the buildings were back the way they were. It wasn't completely default because I think the airport beacon, actually I didn't even bother checking where the airport beacon went. It probably went back to where it was, which makes me think that the build or the project file actually reset. So in other words, yes, there were issues, lots of issues. So I was bummed because that came right after I put like about 2 to 3 hours worth of work into that build at the time. But what happened was I decided, okay, I'm gonna lose my work, but I have backup. So I fell back to a backup from probably about, oh no, it was the backup from the night before or from a few nights ago, where I was fortunately able to save my progress and not have to get rid of a bunch of stuff I was working on. It's kind of like taking cough medicine for a sore throat. It's like you know it's gonna taste bad, and it did taste bad. I was like, I don't want to lose all this progress, but there's no choice. And then I restored from the backup, and then said, okay, that's it. We're back. I tested with just a change or two the day after that, and saved it. I was able to save it successfully, and I moved on. That's the thing. Like, scenery dev can sometimes be tricky like that, and I will probably spend some time tonight making some redundant backups of the progress that I've made at Plymouth so far. I think I have an old save of it so that if my other hard drive goes kablooey, I can save it. But at the same time, it's like, how many backups is too many? Well, I don't know. I think the number of backups you need to feel to basically be in a good place is maybe one more than you think you need. But at the same time, I think once you cross over to having two backups and having your media on the original source, you might be fine. The statistical anomaly of losing data once you have maybe more than two backups in place, like a backup and its fallback, is probably not so bad. But again, I don't know these things, so that's just me talking. Let me enable coloration. I'm going to make this one way more faded out, like like this. Okay, let's see. North parking apron and not so fresh asphalt slab. One. That's cool. That's cool. Hmm. Let's get rid of that one-click placing thing and get rid of my dot. And these are aprons. Let me close everything and just see if that looks semi-normal. Save the scenery. Yeah, yeah, I kind of like this. I like the blend. I don't want to go absolutely ballistic with changes, but I'm a fan of texture and I'm a fan of differences. I think the capacity to be able to demonstrate or to show something where you have slightly different or noticeably different textures, you create this sense. Your textures tell a story, I guess you could say. Oh, of course, I can't select it because the editing boxes are closed. So there you go. That's at least part of the story. 157 and 156. That's why I remember those numbers. I'm going to be using them here. I'm going to create another layer of apron for this piece, and I'm going to take it all the way back here. So I use the generic layer for the apron, like the parking, the hangers, and this taxi slab. I'm going to add another layer here to basically make these cracks more pronounced, and then I'm going to focus on the taxiways for a little bit. I might change time of day. I think I will actually. I want to see this. There we go. Get the shadows out of the way. Afternoon sunshine. A little bit behind what time it actually is on the East Coast right now. It's 3:09 p.m. Let's go ahead and start placing some apron. I was trying to really nail my point placements for levels on top of levels or additional layers. I'm not going to stress too much. I'm essentially just going to keep it, keep it, keep an eye towards this so that I can see where things go. If I zoom out far enough, I see some cracks there, but I don't see that many. So I'm going to put them all the way against the building because I think the shadow texture that I see here, this versus this, is the actual building. And this is I think this building is a solid, I think. So I'm not going to stress out about it too much. I'm just going to go inside and place it down. When you're in the sim, I don't think you can actually go into this building or fly into this building with a drone. So, like I said, I'm not gonna think about it too much. What I can do is change my view. The slick one. This is actually the actual tool set for MSFS. I am using their software development kit to create scenery for this airport. What is different is, for example, the difference between that that red building there, which is my custom building, versus some of the other default hangars like the blue one. You can place objects into the game, and this you can actually use to do things like change textures, place different textures, place custom textures, but essentially, yeah, I am I am using the in-game tools to build a world. Thank you for saying hello, by the way. Really appreciate having you on board. So I put the first layer of texture down, and I'm about to put the second layer down as well. I don't know if I want to put this any further out than it already is. Let me think. Oh, okay. That's my bad. I went beyond the border here. Yes. Yes, you can. You can. And in some places you really want to, because the buildings themselves may be in a place where you want to put something in front of it. So give me a few seconds. I'll show you something. I'll show you what I mean. So let me just put this here. I can probably leave the rest of this alone. And oh, wow. What was I doing that for? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Give me just a moment. I'm going to move some things around. I'll show you how to get rid of default buildings in just a bit. I didn't realize that I overdid it with these dots. I don't think I need as many of them. Let's see. Oh, I get it. That's why. Okay. Yeah, I gotta fix my stuff. Hold on. I I crossed up my vertices. Fortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have to put the rest of these points down by hand. There's a technique, not a technique, but there's basically an option you have when you get started. So I can pick this point and I can right click on it and say resume edition. And then there we go. And I'm back to placing points down. I don't want this though. I want to edit from here. No, 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 actually not subdivide. Resume editing. That's better. Now I can put the points down where I want them. Sit tight. I'll show you how to get rid of default buildings. So here we are. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. I'm making the same mistake again. Okay. That is tricky, but not impossible. Okay. That's kind of annoying. I'm gonna have to watch out for that going forward. All right, so up here, I guess is fine. And I am gonna have to press enter at this point. And I think I take that vertex and I move it down here. No, that makes no sense. That point goes all the way down there. This is a bit messed up. Okay, never mind, never mind. I'm going to start over because this is a little bit more borked that I can fix right now. So let me go to, you know what? I can start right here. If you're going to create a custom hangar, which I intend to do for these buildings, what you can do is you can go to the polygon tool and you can do one-click placing and hold on the control key. Basically, create a polygon around the object that you want to get rid of. This default hanger, for example. And then once you've put down all the points using the left mouse button and the control key, you press enter once. And then you have a polygon. So the polygon is purple, and you can go to buildings and you can say, you can either choose a particular type of option or you can just say exclude all. When you exclude all, that building is gone. And then you can place whatever structure you want on top of it. So I might actually keep this. So we're going to say, I might actually, you know what? I think I might get rid of this because I might make a base building exclude if I want to get rid of all the buildings here and make custom buildings. So I'll get rid of the polygon. And when you get rid of the polygon, excuse me, when you get rid of the polygon, the default building re-renders. There you go. Okay, great. Now, let me see if I can do this again and do this the right way. One-click placing, here we go. I'm going to start in the building this time so that I don't mess myself up. It'll probably make my job way easier. So pretty much a straight line out to here, and then just start putting those dots down. And again, like I said, this is an additional layer. I'm not going to spend too much time freaking out about how this is going to look. I'm happy that sometimes you have to, rethink the way you're doing something, because then it makes you approach the problem from a new perspective. I don't like losing time. I don't like losing work, but sometimes the benefit of doing that is that you have to rethink and you have to decide again whether or not you're going to do something a certain way. And then you kind of get the courage to say, you know what? I think we're going to try it differently. And then you do. Okay. And then here we go. It's kind of where I was last time. I'm not overly concerned about exactly where these dots are going to go because, again, like I said, it's an additional layer. And if it's great, it's great. If it's not, it's not. And there's the building, and I can probably just put it down here. And where is that end? Oh, well, it finished. Okay, great. I hit Control S by accident, and then I lost the ability to continue editing. The editor is actually a little bit smarter. Actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. The editor is actually more of a buddy than I used to think it was, because it lets me pick up editing after I try to save something and it fails, which that I could have had to do this all over again, so I'm happy I didn't have to. Okay, there we go, and now we have a layer on top of the base layer. I'm going to choose the same texture we had here, which was asphalt white cracked, 157, 156, 156 for color. And here it is. Okay, and there's a slight texture difference and coloration difference. Also, what's the rotation? It is 0. Okay, that's weird. Oh no, wait, that's that texture. It's 139 degrees. So we're going to make it similar. Unfortunately, the sim does not let you type in a number here. I wish it did. But it's not hard to do. All right, give me... That's pretty close. I think the tiling is about the same. I could be wrong. Crack surface 1. Oh, excuse me. 38 meters. Oh, I clicked on the overall. That's 38. That needs to be 38 as well. I might make it 37, just to have that line up better. Or 36. That's not bad. That's not bad. I want to take my time figuring out how this is going to work. I'll tell you that right now. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to select this and see. Okay, that's not the one I want. I'm going to expand this out to the edge. Wait. Huh. That's a little weird. Well, whatever. Let's subdivide the edge and pull it in. Now I think I'm at an advantageous spot because I can subdivide the points and keep them closer. I don't know why you're doing that, but whatever. You're nearby. I'm okay with that. And now that I have that, what I might do is put that point here and then subdivide, and I know, oh, okay. The points are like, nope, you don't know where we're going to be generated. Apparently I don't. That's fine. Notice the difference. Notice how different textures have different effects. That's kind of neat. Okay. And then one more, and that should take care of this slab. And that should do it. Okay. Oh, wait. I need to fix this side too. All right, let's see where you get generated. Ah, good. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4, maybe 5. So let's do 5 to be safe. Put them in place. Yep, this is the non-glamorous side of flight sim scenery development. This is this is what would be considered work for a bunch of the people working at companies like Fly Tampa and Dominic Designs and FT Sim and places like that where they make lots of airports. So to say it's not all glitter and, you know, beautiful vistas would be correct. But when you put the effort in to create something meaningful, it pays off. Okay, so I might come back to put some additional layers here, but I'm going to stop myself and I'm going to make sure I name this. Pretty sure it's going to be North Parking Apron Crack Surface 2. North Parking Apron Cracked Surface 2. Okay, great. There's more work to be done. I want to make these textures really pop, so it's going to take me some time, but hopefully I'm still on track for a April release of the scenery. I will probably try to push this to Sim Market again, so that you can purchase this and my Whiskey 904 Camp Peary landing strip scenery, which is there. Now, actually, I kind of like that effect of seeing old taxi lines, but I wonder, I wonder if I wonder if we need to put some apron textures down to make sure people can easily see these taxi lines. I wonder if I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. So we're gonna play with some apron textures here and see if we can actually get this to look good. Hold short, no draw. Oh, you know what I need to look at? I need to look at this line. Okay. Hmm. The hold short line's a little bit off, or my perspective is skewed. Let me keep going. Oh no, the hold short line actually is slightly crooked. So that is where it should be. Okay, now that's fully in, and we're gonna go ahead and slap on a fresh apron. There we go. Why do I choose another apron before I start building a new one? I do that because I have an aprons section which allows me to put all my apron work in here. The ordering is questionable, but at least I know I can go into my apron texture section and then create what needs to be created. All right, so default, we're going to drape it from one side to the other. And this is my answer to not using projected mesh for this scenery. I'd like to spend some more time learning so that I can actually make my taxiway lines sharper. And taxi concrete, I might try to find a better ground texture. I wish there was a really smooth one. Not rough paint. Let's do asphalt 5 black. Well, that's one way to do it. So now you can clearly see that. Hello, Pavlin. Good afternoon. Why 10,000 bits? Because I wanted to at least temporarily disable bit donations for now. I'm in a place where I'm not sure that I want to take people's money anymore. I'm just being very open about my approach to things like Twitch and subscriptions. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I appreciate people's generosity, but it like this isn't going to replace my full-time job anytime soon. So it does make me wonder a bit if I need to put any emphasis on that. I might bring the requirement back down, but for now I'm not so sure. Now, if someone wants to cheer 10,000 bits, I don't think I'm going to turn their generosity away. But I think for most of us, like most people are going to take that as a sign like, oh, okay, he doesn't want anybody to donate bits. So that's how I feel. Like if people are going to be like, oh, wow, like he's really expecting me to cheer 10,000 bits because he wants that. The obvious answer is no. You don't have to cheer. You don't have to donate. You don't have to sub. You don't even have to follow. If you don't follow though, you won't be able to chat because I think I have follow only chat turned on permanently. Let's see. Hold short, hold short background, hold short background 1. So I'm going to move this in a touch. Oh, wait. Ugh. Yeah, just a little bit in. Get rid of that dot. And all right, great. And you know what? I might make a folder in here strictly for those kinds of backgrounds. And do dark background taxi apron textures. There we go. All right, so in here is where we're going to put all the backing textures for our taxiways. Why am I doing this? Two reasons. One, because the taxi lines are going to be harder to see with a apron texture that looks like this. And two, because I think the taxiways in general in certain situations are set to function this way. I'm trying to say something. I'm not saying it correctly. The regulations may require painted taxiways in trafficked areas to be clearly marked so that you can see them during the daytime. And it's like, DIGI, I mean, I can see yellow against white. Well, we can, but I mean, we're looking down at them. If the sun's hitting this road surface and you have a yellow line, my guess is it's going to be a lot harder to see. That's my guess anyway. But this is actually pretty cool. This is an experiment, something that I wasn't expecting to work with. Is it ideal? No. But is it what I can do right now? Yes. This dot is off slightly. I wish I might try fixing that. Do I want to make all the edits one piece? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it would be convenient to, so I think I'm gonna do that. All right, if this is gonna be dark texture, I can keep it here and just go ahead and crisscross over to the other taxi line. Let me back this up a bit. All right. Hope this works. It probably will. The only reason I don't see this working is because the taxi line is actually not the same as the hold short line. But the hold short line actually wasn't even being drawn. It was what I'm trying to say. It was a painted line. So I'm optimistic. Yeah, I think this perspective is going to be a lot better. Thing about apron textures is that they're not as auto-correcting as you'd like them to be. So you can make jagged apron textures if that's what you're shooting for. Painted lines can be curved. I am curious to see how this turns out. King Cobra, welcome aboard, my friend. God bless you and good afternoon to you. Hope the rest of your flight went very well. I am doing some scenery development for Plymouth Municipal. Right now, I'm trying to simulate an extra kind of like backing layer on top of the taxiways because like you can see the taxi line is yellow. You can see it against the asphalt, but the asphalt is like let's just say it's like been bleached by the sun for years. So I am going to simulate basically them putting a backing layer in the taxiway lines so that you can see them better at this airport. I don't know if it's technically correct or required, but I know sometimes I look at taxiway lines at default airports and I'm like, it'd be nicer to see this easier against the ground. And I thought another streamer, whether it was Captain K-Man or somebody else, mentioned that it's actually required, or at least it's required in the States. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Actually, let me think. Do I want to go back and do all these lines? I'm gonna have to, but I'm gonna be smart about it and split the difference. It's like, Digi, this is so boring. All you're doing is clicking and putting stuff down. Yes, is this is not glamorous. And in fact, it's a little irritating. Mostly though, I think it's just because of the brightness. So I think I'm going to bring the sun down a little bit. No, that kind of makes it harder. I'm going to set it to the middle of the day. I think the afternoon sun was really hitting the road at a certain angle, the taxiway, and it was making it difficult to see. It's still pretty bright, but as they say, it is what it is. But appreciate having you folks aboard. I appreciate the interest. I am trying to complete this airport for release, hopefully on Sim Market soon. Some things to take care of before that happens. Obviously, creating the rest of the airport and seeing how many custom buildings I can create or custom areas I can make. I'm not sure. To, to be honest, that might actually influence whether or not this ultimately gets released as freeware or payware. If I just feel like releasing the airport and moving on to different projects, I might make it freeware, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, if I'm gonna release it as payware, then I'm gonna have to create more custom buildings. I don't want to sell something that's made predominantly with stock Asobo assets. That's probably something the flight sim community will frown upon significantly. To say nothing of, you know, people being like, "Oh, well, you you could have put some more custom buildings down." That's the thing that I try to avoid. I try to really make something worth the money for people. So that's where I am. And whether or not you're saying anything in here, having you guys along is nice. I have done these kinds of streams during the week as what I call office hour streams or no microphone streams, where I just put textures down and invite people in. Sometimes I play music, sometimes like now I don't. I am focused on getting a particular piece of work done, and that's it. And I'll be the first person to admit sometimes the temptation is, you really want to cover as much ground as you possibly can and be like, bam, like I got like 5 buildings done today. What? But it's not that simple. And I'm coming to grips with it and I'm accepting it. The idea that you can create scenery really quickly. You can create scenery quickly with the SDK, but to create scenery, there needs to be um, more than a bit of thought that goes into generating it. Now, if it's scenery you're making for yourself in the sim and you don't necessarily care what the scenery looks like as long as it accomplishes a very specific task for you, like you put a hangar into an airport that didn't have them before, or you create a point of interest because you rendered a special, I don't know, fast food joint near an airport and you want to put it in the sim, then there's certain things you can do differently, certain things you don't have to do at all. But I guess what I'm trying to say is there are ways to render these things and build them. Sometimes it takes a lot of work, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the effort put in is extremely evident. Going to be a bit of an educational for me today to see whether or not this second layer of paint technique actually works. I went on fsdeveloper.com some time ago and I looked around for people that were, figuring out how to create certain effects, like, rendering the dark layer for backing for taxiways. And one particular developer, was just straightforward. He said, you know what? I use Asobo. I use Asobo materials. I think they were trying to say they use Asobo default materials and they just layer them intelligently. And that allows them to create scenery without 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 fearing that the scenery itself is going to, what am I trying to say, that it's going to be borked or look different. What am I trying to say? I think I know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm a software developer in real life, so I tend to think of things sometimes from the perspective of, oh, okay, now what is this going to cost me in terms of, say, time or effort? I use programs or products that oftentimes are used to edit certain pieces of information or to produce an expected outcome. My company didn't create that program, it just uses somebody else's program to do a certain thing. So if you decided you were going to use that, you run the risk of one day trying to do your work and that program not working. Now, I mean, we make what is that word? We make cases for that in our normal lives. We don't write, essays or documentation or stories or books using our own custom word processing application, we might use LibreOffice or, Microsoft Office or something like that. And we depend on another company to create the programs which allow us to do our work. It's kind of the same with flight simming. You can you can you can use different techniques or different programs to help you create things. A few days ago, I saw somebody shared a YouTube video with me where you can actually use, it's either a different technique or a different program that lets you render buildings quickly in Blender. I might experiment with that, but if it's more than a different technique, if it's an actual program, whether it's free or paid, the risk, of course, is that you try to use it one day and you can't because you don't have you know, the same version of Blender, or, there's a Windows update and all of a sudden the 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 dynamically linked library that it uses is different and doesn't want to run anymore. So there are choices to be made. This is gonna be weird to say the least, but we'll see. I think I'm gonna take it all the way up here and bring it back down. Okay. Not expecting this to look good, but hopefully it will. All right, now here's where I cut in and do the rest of the work for this closed section. I will say there are plenty of times where I wish it was a lot easier to create scenery, but what's that old phrase? If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. I guess this is how I learn, by doing. Don't know if I'll be able to do much more this afternoon. I do have a planned exit for today around 4:30 because I want to wrap up in time to prep for hanging out with some friends later. And I want to make sure Mrs. Digi does as little as possible. She is still on the mend from her surgery, and she, I feel, is on the road to what I'm hoping will be a complete and full and balanced recovery. It's soon. That much I know. It's soon. And yeah, this is good. Here we go. I'll put that dot there, and then we can move this forward here. I am going to have to adjust some of these points, no doubt about it. But again, I'm just focusing on the work involved. Like I want to make sure this looks good. I don't want to go bananas. We will see. I might make these more in pieces going forward. It takes a while to build them. Okay, now I'm back to the other point, which means I can continue on the outer edge. I don't know if anybody else is noticing this, but I am noticing a trend on Twitch. I see many more flight sim stream pilots doing general aviation streams, which I think is pretty cool. And it's not always just, like bush flying or even flying big biz jets. There's more of a flux or continuum of different kinds of flights that are happening. People are flying bush jets, but they're flying bush jets. They're flying bush planes. That would be interesting to have a jet plane that could land almost anywhere. They're flying general aviation aircraft in different places and kind of experiencing different things. It's inspiring me to want to get smaller planes and fly them places again, but most of my general aviation flying I do with turbine engines. So small to very large business jets to medium or regional sized airports, which is cool. But the more I see them, the more I want to fly to places like, I don't know, the backwoods of like Montana or, uh, you know, Georgia in Eastern Europe slash Asia, or fly through, I don't know, Tanzania in CJ4 at low altitude at high speed, or grab an F-22 and carve up the Grand Canyon with some friends. Okay, let's see if this was worth the last, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. We will see. Okay. Really? It took it all the way down? Wow, that's a little weird. And enter. Wow. One click placing is off. Before I do anything else, I'm going to save it. And I'm going to choose the Asphalt 5 black texture, and we're going to increase priority. Okay, so it did add a little bit of difference to my taxiway textures. So in other words, I will need to separate my base layer from those taxi lines a little bit. But now that I have this, I can look at all this down here. Save as I go. Ugh, let me get up and stretch for a moment. That's not bad. And believe it or not, a while ago, I was trying to achieve a very similar effect by simply having those textures exist. One problem I see right away is that there is a degree of uncertainty. It literally looks like the lines were spray painted on top of the surface. So, in other words, it's okay. I'm gonna be able to see this stuff, but it's not like it's not like somebody draping a different material for the taxiway line, which is what I used to see in other Sims. Okay, here we go. Save that and let's stretch it out. Is it perfect? No. Is it promising? Potentially. All right, I'm gonna move this out here just for a moment so I can actually position this better. And then we'll move that back in slowly. Yeah, yeah, there we go. That's the idea. And I don't know, maybe I'm doing this wrong, but at the same time, it is a first attempt. And I think that's the whole point of the exercise. I couldn't tell, I couldn't tell that this was actually going to look a certain way until I tried it. And I don't know about you watching, whether there's something you want to try doing that you don't know whether or not you'll do very good at it. Consider my experience as, you know, encouragement or a reminder. You're going to need to build up experience to get better. I mean, there's probably stuff that you might be able to figure out really quickly so that you don't have to spend a lot of time thinking hard about how to build something. But for some of us, it takes a while, sometimes a long while, before we figure out how to get good at something. But again, at the same time, I'm not as intimidated as I was about this technique. And I think the reason why I prefer this now to trying to create a taxi line texture that includes this kind of work is because I will I will be able to separate or to stretch out the backing area so that it doesn't look like it's way up against the line. You don't spend a lot of time taking a look at taxi lines, but you do at the same time. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Also, the benefit of this is that it's it's being I'm making this with in-game assets. So essentially the rendering and the hiding and the showing of these lines will hopefully be not as it won't be cut off as badly, I'm hoping. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Actually, I think these lines at this point are good because they're visible all the way right up to here. These might have to be adjusted slightly. And actually, I might just do that. And then take this line and dump it in. And that's better. And now I can focus here. This is like where the like just passionate focus comes into play. Stand by, folks. Okay, Mrs. Digi was just rolling through for a bit. And let's see. It's about 4:11 right now. Where do I stand? Well, I'm kind of impressed about this. It's not perfect. It still needs a lot of work, but I will probably be working on this technique throughout this week. And this will be good for, my sophomore release. Hopefully, I will learn about projected meshes soon so that my taxiway lines will be even sharper. But if this is all I know right now, I'm not gonna tell my friend like, oh, well, like I was gonna release it in April, but I just felt like stepping away for like 6 or 7 months to be able to learn new techniques. Learning new techniques is fine, but if it starts to become an issue of you using your technique or your quest for technique as an excuse, then it's I don't know, it hits different. All right, pardon me again, folks. All right, folks. I have my microphone on mute, just helping Mrs. Digi get some stuff moved. Well, to move around. Like I said before, she's continuing on the mend. I think she's got just a little bit more to go before she wraps up with having to use a scooter to get around, but like a knee scooter. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up this section and then probably call it for the stream. I may return to doing evening hours streams, or I may just go dark this week just to double down on getting this stuff done, because I really, really want to see this complete by, when was I saying? By, by April, by early to mid-April. I want to have this released and be in a better spot so that I can focus on other projects. There are some other sceneries that I've been meaning to focus attention to, which I haven't gotten to yet. There is a passenger terminal in Cambodia that I still need to build for a friend. And there are more than a few other airports that I also need to get my time and effort. So there are plenty of projects to be had. That's for sure. Stop for a moment. Let me see. That dot looks a bit too far out. That's better. At least I think that's better. Eventually we'll come around the other side and stretch it so that it looks like it does here. But I don't know, I like this. It's not perfect, but the other lines weren't either. It's almost like you get the real sense that they were sprayed on, as opposed to painted or slapped on with a material. Eventually, though, I think I might move on from this technique because, as you can tell, it does take some effort to put down. But that's not too shabby. That's not too shabby for like 30 or 40 minutes worth of work. Thank you, my friend. Welcome aboard, Eric Flight. Folks, my friend Eric Flight is the one that does flight sim streams on Twitch and YouTube, along with being the person that kind of inspired and kicked this project off, whether he knows it or not. I am trying to make this look as realistic as possible so that it benefits not only him, but anyone else that winds up using this airport. And it's taking a while, but I mean, it's because I want to put the attention on getting these aprons built and getting these areas built up so they look a lot closer to form, a lot closer to real life than what they currently look like right now. It's almost 4:20, and I think I'm going to start wrapping it up for today. Who can I say hello to? Let me take a look and see what's going on. I'll take a look at my channel briefly, and then we can see who we can raid. Let's see. It's not 5 o'clock yet, so Sim Caesar isn't on. 757 Spy looks like he's doing Greece flights. We've got Ucandu doing, I think, general aviation prop stuff. And who else can I say hello to? Let me see. Battling crashes and delivering cargo. Turbinator, a Torb is flying. Philly to St. Louis.